Rain lashed the Napa estate's vast windows like accusations, thunder rumbling low as if the valley itself judged the scene unfolding in the grand foyer. Leora Hale clutched the veranda railing, her swollen belly a defiant curve against the chill wind whipping through the open doors. 9 months heavy with their unborn daughter, she faced Damien Lockwood, her husband, heir to vineyards that stretched like possessive lovers over the hills, his suitcase already in hand, eyes cold as unripe grapes. Damien, the forecast screams floodwaters. Our baby's due any breath now. Stay. Be here when she arrives. Her plea sliced the air, voice raw with the ache of a love turned barren. He barely glanced up, adjusting his silk tie with fingers that once traced her skin in fevered nights. The Bordeaux Chateau calls, Leora. Mother's deals wait for no storm or sentiment. You've got the staff. Handle it. Vivian's laugh cut in from the doorway, sharp as shattered crystal. Darlings, drama ill-suits a Lockwood. Solitude will temper you. Dear, forge that maternal steel. As their convoy roared away, taillights vanishing into the downpour, Leora sank to the cold marble, tears mingling with rain. But in the arbor's gloom, unseen eyes watched. Ronan Vale, the vintner they'd dismissed as dirt underfoot. His fists clenched, jaw tight. What brewed in his gaze promised a reckoning deeper than any vintage, one that would strip Damien of everything, including the heart he'd shattered. Hello, my beautiful souls. Welcome back to Mr. Cael's Stories, where whispers of the heart turn into roars of redemption. A massive embrace to my loyal subscribers. You've made this channel our shared hearth. Newcomers, hit that subscribe and join the circle. Your stories deserve this fire too. Have you ever discovered the person you love isn't who they claim to be? When the man you married has been living a lie, how can you trust anything was real? Would you forgive someone who hid their entire identity, even if they did it for love? Drop in the comments. What's the deepest secret you'd uncover for passion's sake? Like if betrayal's sting still blooms into something sweeter. And stick with me. This tale of storm-swept longing and vine-wrapped ooze will leave you breathless. The Lockwood estate clung to Napa's rolling hills like a possessive embrace, its stone walls veined with ivy that whispered of old money and older secrets. Sunlight filtered through the arbor's leaves in golden shards, but for Leora it only sharpened the edges of her solitude. Days after the convoy's departure, she moved through the house like a shadow seeking light, her body a vessel of quiet miracles, each step a negotiation with the weight of impending motherhood. The nursery, half finished in her vision of soft blues and vine motifs, mocked her from down the hall, a room meant for 3 now echoing with one heartbeat's echo. Memories surfaced unbidden as she traced the grand staircase's banister, polished to a gleam that reflected her altered form. Damien's touch had once ignited her here, in stolen moments before the wedding's fanfare, his fingers splaying across her waist, pulling her close with a hunger that promised forever. You're my rarest vintage, he'd murmured against her neck, lips trailing fire down her spine until she arched into him, breathless, their bodies entwining in a dance of silk sheets and shared sighs. But that fire had cooled to ash, his affections curdling into indifference the moment vows bound her to his world. A sharp knock echoed from the foyer, pulling her from reverie. Vivian's parting barbs replayed in her mind. Solitude will temper you, dear. Temper? It felt more like erosion, wearing her down to bone. Leora descended slowly, hand cradling her belly, where their daughter, Eloan, she'd named her in dreams, stirred with a kick that felt like defiance. In the sunlit kitchen, the staff bustled with mechanical grace, but it was Ronan who caught her eye, lingering by the herb garden door. He turned, a basket of fresh lavender in hand, his frame filling the threshold like an oak rooted deep. Mrs. Hale, he said, voice a low timbre that resonated through the sun-warmed tiles. The air grows heavy with rain. Thought these might ease the weight. He extended the bundle, stems tied with twine, their scent blooming soft and soothing. She accepted, fingers brushing his, rough from earth and labor, yet warm, sending an unexpected tremor up her arm. Ronan, you don't have to. Every bloom needs tending, he replied, eyes meeting hers with an intensity that stripped the room bare, especially in season. There was no pity there, only a quiet recognition, as if he saw the woman beneath the swell, the longing etched in her posture. That afternoon, as clouds gathered like unspoken regrets, Leora wandered the veranda, lavender clutched like a talisman. Damien's texts arrived sporadic, Boasts of Bordeaux's cellars, selfies amid crystal flutes. No mention of her, of them. Enjoying the escape, one read, a knife twist in her gut. She typed a reply, fingers hovering. Storms closing in. Miss you. Deleted. Instead, she whispered to Eloan, we'll find our own sunlight, petal. Ronan's silhouette appeared at the arbor's edge, silhouetted against the darkening vines. He paused as if sensing her gaze, then nodded once, a silent vow amid the gathering dusk. In that moment, desire flickered, unbidden. Not the frantic blaze of youth, but a deeper pull toward the solidity he exuded, the way his presence promised shelter without demand. Longing coiled low, a vine-seeking trellis, but she turned away, heart quickening at the forbidden warmth. As twilight deepened, the first raindrops pattered like hesitant confessions, and Lyora retreated indoors, unaware that Ronan's watch held not just duty, but a spark mirroring her own, a slow unfurling towards something perilously real. Hey, loves, if this stirs echoes of love's early glow fading to doubt, smash that like button and share in the comments. What's the red flag you ignored for a spark? Your stories fuel our fire. Keep watching. The tempest just beginning. Morning light pierced the estate's haze 2 days on, carrying the scent of damp earth and distant thunder. Leora stirred in her canopied bed, sheets tangled like unresolved dreams, only to find a tray beside her, arranged with the artistry of a lover's note. Slices of pear glistened beside honey-drizzled yogurt, a cluster of wild blackberries bursting with juice, and a carafe of chilled elderflower cordial that caught the sun like liquid dawn. Tucked beneath, nourish the roots. Strength follows. Her pulse quickened, a flush creeping up her cheek as she savored the first bite, flavors exploding. Tart, sweet, alive in a way Damien's grand dinners never were. This was care distilled, intimate without intrusion, awakening a hunger beyond sustenance. She rose, robe slipping loose over her curves, and made her way to the nursery, bare feet whispering across cool floors. The door swung open to transformation. The cradle now a masterpiece of reclaimed redwood, its hood carved with swirling vine patterns that danced in the light. Shelves brimmed with leather-bound tales of star-crossed lovers and resilient heroines. A mobile of hand-blown glass grapes swaying gently overhead. The walls, once stark, glowed in washes of sunset amber and midnight indigo, a rocker positioned by the window to cradle both mother and child in golden hours. Tears welled, hot and unbidden, as Lyora sank into the rocker, hands splaying over her belly. Who does this for a stranger? She murmured to Eloan, who responded with a flutter like butterfly wings. She found him in the cellars that evening, the air thick with the musk of fermenting dreams, barrels towering like ancient guardians, their curves oiled to sheen. Ronan knelt by a cask, pipette in hand, tasting a deep crimson pour that stained his lips like a stolen kiss. His shirt clung to broad shoulders from the humidity, sleeves rolled to expose forearms etched with faint scars, veins tracing paths like rivers through valley soil. Ronan, she said, voice threading the dim glow of lantern light. He rose fluidly, setting the glass aside, his gaze lifting to hers. Dark, searching, pulling her into depths she hadn't plumbed since vows turned vowless. The nursery, it's breathtaking. More than I dreamed. She stepped closer, the space between them humming. Why pour your soul into this? For the Lockwood's cast off? He closed the distance, not touching, but near enough that his warmth brushed her skin like a caress. Cast off? You're the bloom they can't crush. His fingers grazed the air near her arm, hovering as if afraid to mark. I've shaped these vines from ruin, coaxing life where others see waste. You're no different, carrying on radiant despite the frost. Their eyes locked, the cellar shrinking to the space of shared breath. Leora's hand rose, tracing the line of his wall, rough with day's stubble, feeling the pace leap beneath. And you? What shapes a man like you, strong yet shadowed? A ghost of a smile curved his mouth, but pain flickered. Loss, mostly. A family estate swallowed by greed left me pressing grapes to press on. His thumb brushed her wrist then, feather light, igniting sparks that raced to her core. But seeing you here, it stirs the soil again. Desire bloomed, insistent, her body leaning into his orbit, lips parting on a sigh as his hands settled at her waist, steadying her swell. The touch lingered, electric, promising depths unexplored. Ronan, Thunder grumbled distant warning, shattering the spell. He stepped back, reluctance etched in his stance. The skies demand respect. Rest, Leora, I'll tend the outer rose. But as he turned, his gaze promised return, a vine's tendril reaching for light. In the quiet after, Leora touched her lips, heart a tangle of longing and caution, vulnerability cracking open like a cork released, spilling secrets she wasn't ready to name. What about you, dreamers? When has a stranger's quiet strength cracked your walls? Comment below. Your truths deepen our weave. Hit subscribe if unexpected sparks light your nights. The storm gathers, in passion waits in its wake. By the fourth eve, the valley braced, winds sighing through the vines like lovers' oinrits, skies bruising to indigo, as if mirroring Leora's inner churn. She paced the veranda, lavender sachet clutched tight. Eloan's flutters a counterpoint to the unease twisting her gut. Damien's silence stretched, his last message a curt deal sealed. Home soon. No query of her nights, no ache for her touch. Longing warred with resentment. She craved the man who'd once mapped her body with reverent hands, not this ghost haunting her days. Ronan found her there, silhouetted against the gathering dark, a lantern in one hand, a shawl in the other. The air bites sharper now, he said, draping the wool over her shoulders, soft cashmere, warmed by his body. His nearness enveloped her, scent of oak and rain-soaked earth mingling with her own subtle jasmine. Walk with me? The arbor shields the worst. She nodded, slipping her arm through his offered elbow, the contact sending warmth pooling low, a forbidden comfort amid isolation's chill. They strolled the shadowed paths, lanterns casting pools of amber that danced over the trellised rows heavy with clusters. Tell me of before, she urged, voice soft as falling leaves. Before the vines claimed you. What dreams did a man like you chase? He paused by a gnarled trunk, fingers trailing its bark as if reading old runes. Cities first, New York cellars, Paris auctions. Thought wealth would mend what greed broke. His eyes met hers, vulnerability raw. My family's holding, poisoned by Lockwood schemes. Father lost his fire, mother her light. I rebuilt in exile, fortunes from forgotten fields. But revenge rooted deeper, returning here, as their vintner, to unearth the rot. Conflict stirred in her chest, admiration laced with caution. And me, am I rot or root in your eyes? The question hung, charged, her free hand drifting to his chest, feeling the steady thrum beneath. Ronan captured her fingers, pressing them to his lips, a brush of heat that stole her breath. You're the rare varietal, Leora, sweet under strain, yielding depths no press can claim. He drew her closer, the arbor's leaves brushing their shoulders like conspirators. Their mouths met then, tentative at first, his lips firm, tasting of blackcurrant and resolve, then deepening, tongues tangling in a slow exploration that echoed the wind's moan. She melted against him, hands roaming the plains of his back, pulling him flush until her belly nestled safe between. His palms splayed over it, reverent, as if blessing the life within, while his other hand tangled in her hair, tilting her for better access. Desire surged, a vintage uncorked, her nipples tightening against silk, core aching with need as he trailed kisses to her throat, nipping the pulse there with a growl that vibrated through her. Ronan, she gasped, fingers fumbling his shirt buttons, exposing sun-bronzed skin etched with old marks, stories in sinew. He groaned as she explored, palms gliding over his abdomen, dipping lower to the ridge of his arousal, straining denim. I need more. He lifted her onto a low bench amid the vines, knees parting hers with gentle insistence, robe falling open to bear her to the night air. His mouth descended, worshipping, lips closing over one breast, tongue swirling the peak until she arched, moans blending with rustling leaves. Fingers deft, he parted her thighs, finding her slick heat, stroking with deliberate circles that built tension like a cask under pressure. Please, she whispered, hips rocking into his touch. Vulnerability bared as climax neared, waves cresting, crashing in shudders that left her trembling, his name a litany on her lips. He held her through it, forehead to hers, breath ragged. You're exquisite. But the storm calls us wiser. Reluctance shadowed his withdrawal, yet promise lingered in his kiss. Goodbye for now, but laced with tomorrow's hunger. Back in her chambers, Leora lay awake, body humming with afterglow, heart a storm of its own. Longing for his solidity clashed with loyalty's ghost. Could she yield to this pull, or would it uproot her world? Share your whispers, hearts. When has a touch in the dark rewritten your desires? Like if forbidden flames still burn bright in you. Don't pause now. Fulfillment ferments just ahead. Thunder shattered the fragile peace at midnight's edge. The fifth night's fury unleashing sheets of rain that clawed the estate's roof like desperate hands. Leora jolted awake in her bed, a contraction gripping low and fierce. A vice of fire that bowed her double, breath seizing as pain radiated through hips and spine. Eloan thrashed within, as if sensing the chaos, her movements a frantic morse of fear. Not yet, Leora gasped to the empty room, fumbling for her phone amid tangled sheets. Damien's line buzzed to voicemail. Away from service, it mocked. Then silence, his number a digital grave. Another wave crested, stealing her cry, tears hot on her cheeks. The betrayal burned deeper than the ache, abandoned not just in body, but in soul, while he chased vintages in distant halls. Ronan! The name tore free, raw and unfiltered, echoing down storm-lashed corridors. He materialized like a guardian from myth, door bursting open, drenched from battling shutters, hair plastered dark, shirt translucent over corded muscle. Leora, it's her time. Panic flashed in his eyes, but action surged, scooping her into arms that cradled her weight as if featherlight, her head lolling against his chest, heartbeat a thunderous drum beneath her ear. The clinic. Roads are rivers now, he murmured, navigating stairs with sure strides, her contractions sinking to his pulse. Outside, wind howled betrayal, but his truck roared to life, headlights carving defiant paths through deluge. She gripped his thigh as they lurched forward, pain blurring vision, each jolt a fresh torment. Breathe, my fierce one, Ronan commanded, voice steady anchor amid the gale's roar, one hand on wheel, the other weaving fingers through hers, thumbs stroking her knuckles in rhythmic soothe. In with the lightning's flash, out with the rain's release. You're carving life from this wildness, stronger than any tempest. Floods surged ankle-deep over lanes, truck hydroplaning on black mirrors of water, but he coaxed it onward, cursing softly as a branch whipped the windshield. Hold to me, he urged when she sobbed through a peak, body slick with sweat, vulnerability stripping her bare. His free hand cupped her cheek, thumb brushing tears. Tender, intimate, stoking embers amid agony. Desire flickered absurdly then, his touch a lifeline laced with heat, reminding her of the arbor's promise. A massive oak loomed across the path, uprooted sentinel. Ronan braked hard, and this bolted into the maelstrom, bam, muscles straining as he heaved timber aside, lightning etching his form in stark relief, rain carving rivulets down bare torso when shirt tore free. Back inside, he pressed close, his damp skin against hers, a shock of vitality. Almost, love. Almost. The clinic's lights pierced the veil at last, a beacon amid oblivion. He carried her through doors, voice booming urgency to night shift shadows. She's in labor, complications from the drive. Hours fractured, monitors wailing like wind, doctors a whirlwind of directives. Leora clung to Ronan's hand through the crescendo, nails biting his palm as she pushed, screams weaving with thunder's bass. I can't, it's too much, she wept at the nadir, doubt a serpent in her ear. You are, he countered, kneeling close, lips to her temple, breath mingling. Eloan's fighting for you. I'm here, your roots, your yield. His free hand splayed over her belly, willing strength, and in that tether pain transmuted, culminating in a final world-rending crop. Eloan emerged, slick and squalling, her wail a victory anthem over the storm's fade. Ronan at the doctor's cue snipped the cord with hands that shook not from cold, but awe. Tiny form placed on Leora's chest, skin to skin, warmth flooding the void. She's here, he breathed, tears tracking his jaw as he hovered, gaze devouring them both. Perfect, like the mother who birthed her through hell. Exhaustion claimed Leora, but fulfillment bloomed, Eloan's latch a soft pull, Ronan's fingers tracing her brow in silent vow. Vulnerability yielded to profound ache. This man, not blood-bound, had become her harbor. As dawn crept, gray light gilding the room, she whispered, You saved us. Lips brushing his knuckles. He leaned in, forehead to hers, voice husky with unspoken depths. We saved each other. The kiss that followed was feather soft, sealing the night's forge. A bond tempered in fury, ready for whatever dawn poured next. Storms of the heart. Tell me, what's your tale of holding on when waves crash? Share below, your courage inspires. Like if this grip through gale moment echoes your own. The haven calls, deeper intimacies await. Sunrise painted the clinic in honeyed strokes. The storm's rage softened to a distant patter, leaving the air washed clean and expectant. Leora cradled Eloan in the east suite, a haven of diffused light and crisp linens, where recovery unfolded like petals after downpour. Ronan moved through it all with unassuming grace, brewing nettle tea that chased chills from her bones, adjusting pillows to cradle her tender form. His presence a quiet symphony countering the beeps of monitors. Nights deepened their weave. He'd settle beside the bassinet as Eloan nursed, his thigh warm against hers, fingers idly tracing the curve of her arm, each stroke a spark, building subtle fire. She has your fire, he murmured one twilight, watching the babe's tiny fist clench in sleep. Eyes like shadowed valleys, but that spark, yours. Leora turned to him, vulnerability raw in the lamplight, body still aching from birth's forge, heart abloom bruised yet resilient. And you, Ronan? What fire drives you to this? To us. Her hand found his knee, squeezing, the contact igniting familiar pull. He captured her palm, pressing it to his chest where his heart thundered steady. Truth at last. Leaning closer, breath mingling with hers, he confessed in hushed tones. The Vale legacy, vineyards vast as dreams, until Elias Lockwood's venom, forged vintages, whispers to rivals, a cascade that drowned his kin. Father poured his last in grief, mother withered untended. Brother ended it in the press, convinced our line soured forever. I rose from that lees, fortunes in far fields, but vengeance the true vintage. Infiltrating as their vintner, I catalogued every tainted cask, every bribe's lees, waiting to decant justice. The words landed heavy, yet freeing, his eyes searching hers for judgment, finding only mirrored scars. Elias. He shadowed my mother too, Leora revealed, voice threading soft. She fled his grasp, warned me of wolves in wool. Damien's her echo, promises that turned to drought. Their shared wound bound tighter, conflict easing into understanding. Desire crested then, vulnerability the richest soil. With Eloan sated and dreaming, Leora shifted, drawing him down until he spooned her form, chest to her back, arm draping possessive over her waist. Show me we're real, she whispered, arching into him, robe parting like mist. Ronan's breath hitched, lips grazing her nape, a trail of heat that pebbled her skin. Only if you guide, Cael, he vowed, hand sliding upward to cup her breast, thumbs circling the still sensitive peak with agonizing tenderness. She moaned low, pressing back against his hardening length, the friction a delicious tease through thin barriers. His free hand ventured lower, parting her thighs to find her warming folds, fingers gliding slick, circling the bundle of nerves until her hips canted, seeking more. Ronan, deeper, she pleaded, vulnerability bared as he slipped one digit inside, then two, curling to stroke that hidden ridge, building rhythm like a slow crush. Pleasure coiled, tight and insistent, his mouth on her shoulder, nipping as tempo quickened, whispers of let go for me, love, pushing her over. Climax rippled through, soft cries muffled in pillow, body clenching around him in waves of release. He held her through it, arousal pressed insistent yet patient against her, his own need a quiet storm held at bay. After, entwined in afterglow's hush, doubt flickered, longing sated, but shadows of deception lingering. Your revenge, does it taint this? She asked, turning in his arms to search his face. He kissed her forehead, earnest. It shadowed me once. You're the light breaking through. Fulfillment settled, fragile yet profound, as rain's echo lulled them, a promise that conflict's thorns could yield sweeter fruit. Forgiveness blooms in tender soil, doesn't it? Comment your path from hurt to hold. Let's grow together. If this whisper of release stirs your soul, like and subscribe. Reckonings rise, but love's pour runs eternal. Whispers of downfall reach the estate by week's end. A viral clip of Damien's yachtside sneer, mocking Leora's fragile bloom over flute clinks, fueling Napa's gossip vines. But Ronan's handiwork ran deeper, Dossiers unsealed in Sacramento courts, exposing Lockwood adulterations, Syras spiked with cheaper blends, inspectors greased like overoiled presses, accounts iced mid-transaction, properties lean like barren fields, the empire's roots rotting from within. The convoy returned unheralded, tires churning muddied gravel to splatter, luxury tarnished by haste. Lyora observed from the arbor's veil, Eloan swaddled close, nursing in rhythmic peace, her daughter's warmth a shield against the farce unfolding. Damien alighted first, tanned but taut, barking at locked gates that yielded no welcome. Vivian followed, pearls askew, phone clutched like a talisman. Theo paced with feral grace, Selena's heels sinking in softening earth, mascara streaking like defeat's first tears. What treachery! Damien roared, pounding iron until knuckles bloomed red. A posted decree fluttering defiant. Assets seized, Lockwood holdings dissolved, federal oversight pending. Ronan emerged from the barrel room's maw, transformed, no laborer's grit, but a vintner's sovereign in linen crisp as fresh cork, stance unyielding as ancient rootstock. Gentlemen, ladies, he drawled, voice of velvet blade. The harvest's turned, your yields confiscated. Damien's face twisted, lunging forward. You dirt-clinging drudge, this farce ends now. Fists flew, but Ronan evaded with fluid economy, seizing wrist in a twist that dropped the air to knees in muck. Farce? Try fact. Your father's poison. Scandals sown, lives crushed for your label. Vivian shrieked, composure fracturing. Elias built this. You can't. Built on graves, Ronan cut, unveiling a folio thick as grudge. Ledgers yellowed, affidavits stark. Veils, once Napa's crown, stripped by your forgeries. My blood paid, father drowned in despair's bottle. Mother faded to dust, brother crushed under your legacy's weight. Photos cascaded, smiling kin amid thriving rows, then desolation, Elias's smirk in shadows. Theo snarled, phone futile in hand. Bluff, our lawyers, gone. Evidence too damning, prosecutors salivate. Ronan's gaze swept them, cold pour. You vacationed while she labored alone, blocked her cries. I drove through Armageddon, held her through hell. Eloan's father, not you. Leora's cue came then, stepping into light, babe at breast, serene, unbowed. Damien's eyes snagged, widening on the child he'd never claimed, then her, regret a fleeting glint amid rage. Leora, our daughter? Yours in blood, not bond, she replied, voice steady whine. You poured neglect, we chose nurture. Eloan fussed, and Ronan's hand found her lower back. Subtle anchor, sparking heat even now, desire's undercurrent through justice's flood. Selena crumpled, sobs jagged. Please, mercy. Mercy you denied, Ronan stated, as sirens wailed valleyward, blue lights flickering like judgment's lanterns. Federal eyes now, prisons await, years to mull stolen sips. Damien surged once more, desperation raw. She's mine, give her back. But Lyora's gaze held firm, fulfillment in her poise. The woman reborn, choosing light over legacy's lees. Officers swarmed, cuffs clicking like final toasts, hauling the dynasty into Twilight's grip. Damien twisted back, plea cracking. I erred. Forgive. Some stains don't fade, Leora said, turning into Ronan's side, his arm encircling. Protective, possessive, stirring embers low. As taillights faded, she leaned up, lips brushing his jaw. You decanted us free. He tilted her chin, kiss deepening amid vine hush, tongue claiming with urgent gratitude, hands framing her face as if she'd slip away. For you, always. The press of his body promised more, conflict's ashes yielding to passion's fertile ground. Underdogs rising, does it ignite you? Like if this pour of payback tastes like triumph, and comment your sweetest revenge turned renewal. The tide turns, coastal whispers beckon, where surrender awaits. Sonoma's cliffs cradled Ronan's sanctum, a sprawling area of glass and driftwood, waves crashing below like applause for their exodus. They arrived under moon's silver pour, Eloan slumbering in carrier. Leora exhausted yet alight, the estate's ghosts left to wither. Here air salted with promise, vines clung to bluffs in defiant green, a haven uncorked for renewal. Mornings unfolded languid. Ronan waking her with mouth's worship, lips trailing from ankle to inner thigh, breath teasing until she arched, fingers fisting sheets. "Let me taste your dawn," he'd murmur, tongue delving slow, lapping folds with deliberate swirls, building to frenzy as she crested, cries echoing off sea spray walls. But doubt's lees lingered, surfacing third eve over cliffside supper. Grilled octopus scented with wild thyme, wine, a light rosé that loosened tongues. A letter arrived by courier, sealed with her mother's crest. "Darling, the boy I sheltered from Elias's storm. Ronan Vale. His fire matches yours. Tend it true. Revelation twisted sweet to sharp. Fate's hand or manipulations." Liora confronted him by the grotto's mouth, waves thundering below, vulnerability a tide pulling her under. "Mother knew you, sheltered you as kin. Was I predestined pawn or true pursuit?" Tears salted her cheeks, longing clashing with fear's undertow. Ronan knelt in tide pools, drawing her down, hands framing her face, thumbs wiping salt. "No pawn. Exile brought me to her door, your stories, her gift. But you unchained me." His kiss silenced protest urgent, tongue demanding entry, bodies pressing salt damp on stone. Desire overrode, fulfillment's edge sharp. He unbound silk from arbor stores, wrists looped gentle above her head, anchored to outcrop. "Trust me to unravel you," he breathed, eyes devouring. Her night shift hiked, bearing curves to briny air. Feathers from gulls down teased, nipples to gout, navel to shiver, then lower, brushing slick core until she writhed. Please, a siren's call. "Ronan, now," she demanded, hips bucking as he replaced tease with tongue, flicking pearl with precision, fingers joining to plunge deep, curling against that ridge. Pleasure mounted, relentless, waves crashing in sync, climax shattering her in sprays of release, body quaking bound and free. He freed her wrists, entering in one fluid claim, thrusts measured at first, building to seize rhythm, her legs wrapping as he drove home, groans mingling with surf. "Mine," he growled, hand between to circle, tipping her over again as he followed, hot spill sealing surrender. Entwined after, doubt dissolved in afterglow's tide. "Fate wove us," she conceded, fingers tracing his scars, "but choice keeps us." He nodded, vulnerability bared. "Every dawn, I choose you." Conflict ebbed, leaving fulfillment's deep current, love as endless as the horizon. Redemption's waves, how do they reshape you? Subscribe if this grotto's fire warms your depths. Share a twist that turned your tide. Vows miss the air, fulfillment's bloom unfurls. Mist-shrouded vines frame their dawn right. Sonoma's bluffs a cathedral of green and gray. Eloan gurgling witness from wildflower cradle. No grand hall, just circle of kin. Scattered vintners who'd known Vale glory. Leora's distant aunt bearing her mother's blessing. Ronan stood etched in fog, simple band of twisted platinum on his finger, eyes locked on Liora as she approached. Gown of ivory lace clinging like dew-kissed petals, bare feet in earth that claimed her steps. "You," he vowed, voice carrying over wave murmur, hands clasping hers, calloused yet tender. "In storm and sun, my rarest pour, I choose you, body in bloom, to tend through every season." His thumb stroked her pulse, heat flashing memory of nights entwined. Liora met his gaze, fulfillment swelling like full moon tide. "And you, my anchor in the crush, fire to my root. I choose us, fierce and free, weaving our vintage eternal." Rings exchanged, hers amethyst, veined gold, echoing valley quartz, sealed with kiss, slow, consuming, tongues dancing vow as cheers rose soft. The bower awaited, secluded tangle of Malbec and sea holly, petals carpeting ground like confetti from gods. Their robes shed in reverence, they consummated, Ronan's mouth everywhere, throat to toes, lingering at breasts with suckles that drew moans, then core devouring with languid laps until she trembled on edge. "Ride me, wife," he urged, reclining amid blooms, arousal proud. She straddled, sinking slow, stretch exquisite, filling voids long empty, hips circling in undulant grace, hands braced on his chest as tempo built. His fingers gripped hips, guiding deeper. Thumb teasing pearl until ecstasy claimed, her walls fluttering, cries blooming wild, his release surging in shared quake. After, limbs tangled in petal-strewn hush, Eloan fetched to nestle between, tiny form bridging their union. Our triad, Leora whispered, fulfillment profound, desire's embers banked for tomorrow's flare. Renewal's right. What's your vow that reshaped a heart? Comment your sacred shift, like if this mist-veiled merge stirs your eternal. Horizons call, but family roots eternal. 2 harvests on, the cliffside hummed with Eloan's laughter. Toddler feet pattering through herb rows, chubby hands plucking berries with glee, staining fingers purple as twilight promises. Leora watched from the veranda, Ronan beside, his arm a trellis round her waist, pulling her back against him, chest solid, lips grazing her temple in casual devotion. The sea stretched infinite below, waves a rhythmic hymn to their chosen rhythm. You've turned this wild place tame, she teased, turning in his hold, fingers tracing the silver threading his hair, marks of years poured into soil and soul. Eloan chased fireflies now, squeals piercing dusk, oblivious to the legacy she'd inherited. Not lockwood thorns, but veil resilience, woven with her mother's grace. Ronan chuckled low, hand sliding possessive over her hip, dipping to squeeze, spark familiar, igniting low. Tame? You've uncorked the wild in me. His kiss deepened, unhurried, tongue-teasing entry, bodies aligning in memory of bowers and grottos, desire ever fresh as morning dew. She melted, leg hooking his, the promise of night's deeper claim humming unspoken. Evenings often yielded to such. After Eloan's tales and tucks, they'd slip to the master suite, windows flung to salt breeze. Tonight, as stars pricked velvet sky, he'd undress her slow, gown pooling like spilled rosé, mouth following paths, nape to navel, knees parting for worship that left her gasping, fingers in his hair as tongue delved, building to shattering peak. Then, her turn, lips trailing his length, taking him deep with swirling heat until groans rumbled, fulfillment mutual in tangled release. But beyond passion's pour lay life's lessons distilled, abandonment sting teaching chosen bond strength, hidden truths forging unbreakable trust. She asks of her other father, Leora confided one dawn, Eloan napping in sunbeams. How do we frame the fracture? Ronan drew her close, vulnerability soft in his gaze. As compost, rich soil for our growth. She'll know blood's vine, but loves the true trellis. Fulfillment settled, profound. Desire sated not just in flesh, but in the family they'd pressed from pain. Years layered like fine legs on tongue. Eloan's first crush on a neighbor's son met with Ronan's gentle counsel. Leora's vineyard sketches blooming into boutique labels. His investments, the silent root. Conflict arose rare, a harvest blight testing tempers, resolved in rain-soaked reconciliation. Bodies mending what words couldn't. Each trial deepened. Vulnerability to virtue. As sun dipped now, Eloan toddled back, berry-smeared, grin wide. Papa, taste! Ronan knelt, accepting the gift, juice bursting sweet, her giggle his vintage reward. Leora joined, family triad complete, hearts synced in sunset's glow. In quiet after, as stars wheeled, Ronan pulled Leora to the cliff's lip, arms encircling from behind, arousal pressing insistent, hand venturing beneath her skirt in bold claim. Every day I choose this, he murmured, fingers stroking to sighs, waves below echoing their building rhythm. Climax crested soft, fulfillment's tide eternal. My eternal lovers, this weave of storm to starlight, what's your chosen pour? Share below, how has love's vintage aged you sweeter? Like, comment, subscribe, hug the new, cherish the true. Your engagement ferments our next tale. Until whispers call again, may your hearts yield endless bounty, fade to waves.